Good afternoon. Please allow me to welcome you and to thank you all for being here this afternoon following the conclusion of our 43rd joint ACP-EU Council session, for which I had the pleasure of co-presiding here in the beautiful capital city of Lomé. At the wonderful opening ceremony yesterday morning, we were privileged to have the presence of His Excellency Monsieur Komi Selon Klasu, Prime Minister of the Togolese Republic. Of course, it was a pleasure and privilege to not only have his presence, but to have him officially launch our proceedings, he being no stranger to ACP and EU matters. Thereafter, our deliberations started in earnest yesterday afternoon. Over the course of 2 days, we covered much ground and addressed important topics that are at the core of relations between the ACP group of states and the European Union. I will now elaborate on a few of those important topics. On future relations between the ACP group and the EU, it is important to recall that negotiations for a partnership agreement post-2020 are due to commence by August 2018, with the exchange of negotiating memoranda. In this regard, Council concluded that a post-Cotonou agreement must result in strengthened partnership between ACP and EU, and especially in global governance, but should also respond more effectively to current and future priorities of countries while providing for the support of regional and continental integration priorities. In relation to strengthening ACP-EU cooperation in international fora, Council mandated our two secretariats to continue close engagement on the subject in order to organize as many joint events as possible during the course of the year. Some excellent opportunities noted include the UN High-Level Political Forum on the SDGs in July, the UN Intergovernmental Conference to adopt a global compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration in September, and the 24th Conference of Parties, COP24, of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in December. On climate change, we are also particularly pleased to advise of our agreement on a joint declaration on the subject matter. This represents for us a tangible expression of our shared commitment to address critical issues related to climate change. Turning to migration, Council agreed to carry forward its work on this important subject, noting the acute need to provide decent jobs, particularly for women and young people, and to adopt a comprehensive approach that more effectively leverages the benefits of migration for both source and destination countries. With respect to development finance issues, Council adopted a decision to revise Annex 1C of the Cotonou Partnership Agreement in order to provide 350 million euros for the EU's UN Spotlight Initiative to eliminate violence against women and girls, and 75 million euros to support the Global Partnership for Education, which addresses access to quality education. We also deliberated on the EU list of so-called non-cooperative tax jurisdictions, advocating for a more consultative approach in order to avoid undue harm to the economic development prospects of affected ACP countries. And on economic issues, Council received a report on the 15th Joint Ministerial Trade Committee held in Brussels last October, as well as on the state of play of economic partnership agreements between the EU on the one hand and various ACP regions on the other, while noting that the majority of ACP member states remain outside the EPA framework. Finally, Council deliberated on the situation of middle-income countries, addressing the middle-income trap, and urged that special attention be given to this group of countries. Council also encouraged member states to work even more closely to ensure that sustainable exploitation of our natural resources is practiced. Before concluding, please allow me to once more place on record our deep appreciation to the government and people of the Togolese Republic for hosting us and for the excellent facilities placed at our disposal since our arrival here in Lomé. Please allow me to also express my deep appreciation to the EU co-president of the 43rd Joint Council Session, Her Excellency Ekaterina Zaharieva, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Bulgaria, for the sterling manner in which she conducted and co-presided over our deliberations, in the process accomplishing our task in an inclusive yet effective and efficient manner. Madam Co-President, it was truly a pleasure co-presiding with you. With those words, ladies and gentlemen of the press, I thank you for your kind attention and hand the floor to my co-president.
Thank you, Madam Co-President. I will start first to thank you because it was really a very efficient, effective and honest council. Of course, our host, Togolese government and president show that Togolese hospitality is not only in words. I know how difficult it is to organize such kind of big forum with 107 delegations, and I really admire the excellent and efficient way they have done and passed through this. I want to also personal thank to my colleague and congratulate him, Professor Robert Dussey, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Africa Integration of Togolese Republic, who lead the negotiations from the ACP side. The motto of Bulgarian presidency of European Council is United we stand strong. Let's do it. ACP and EU have long relationship. The first Lomé Convention was signed in 1975, exactly the year I was born, as I already mentioned in our opening ceremony. And now we are preparing the negotiations for new agreement from 2020, which will deepen and boost our cooperation. This means that generation of politicians from more than 100 countries have contributed to this, and we will have the results now. Because united, we stand strong. On post-Cotonou. This is a historical moment in our long-standing partnership, preparing for the future, defining how our relationship will look like after the expiry of Cotonou Agreement in 2020, has given us the opportunity to engage in lively debates. Our discussions have been very constructive. Over the past months, the ACP and the EU sides have been working very hard to define our respective negotiating mandates. The EU negotiating mandate is almost agreed, with only one element outstanding, and we are confident that it can be adopted in the coming days, so that the negotiations can start as planned. We have discussed about what steps need to be undertaken to start negotiations on time. We are at the critical juncture as we prepare to modernize our partnership. Together, we have agreed that the donor-recipient relationship should give place to a partnership between equals based on genuine dialogue and shared interests. We have agreed that we will establish a strong political partnership that allows us to address global challenges even more effectively. A modernized partnership that strengthens our collective actions in the international arena and which delivers on 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The ACP and the EU are determined to strengthen our cooperation on the international scene. The implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development provides us an ambitious framework that will allow us to join efforts as well as to share our expertise in delivering on sustainable development goals in our respective regions and countries. Together, the ACP and the EU have agreed to establish a joint calendar with opportunities for deepening our international cooperation, which will allow us to coordinate our actions in international and global agendas. And the excellent example for this is adoption of today's, from the Council today, the declaration that will unite us and will help to implement the Paris Agreement on climate change. I want to thank all the teams and all the countries because we have worked really hard since March to be able to adopt this declaration today. Of course, we discuss also migration, and this is an issue that is of huge interest from ACP countries, but also European member states. And we have to fight and to tackle the root causes of migration, but also, what is very important, we have to save the people's life, because you know the data, how many people and how many lives were lost in the sea, in the trucks, while criminals were playing with those people's life. And Bulgarian presidency, we organized on 19 and 20, since the 21st June, seminar on a very important topic that is linked with migration, on fight against the trafficking in human beings, which I think we all have to work together to overcome this really a dangerous phenomenon. On trade, we have really, and I want to thank the ACP ministers who were very frank and say their concerns and their proposals, what we can improve among us to be able, every country from European Union and ACP to benefit from the global trade. What we agreed is that we have to take stock of good progress made recently in the EPAS, Economic Partnership Agreement, but also to discuss on a regular basis what challenges and concerns for implementation of EPAS we still have. It's a very important part of our discussion was external investment plan of the European Union that the Commission announced in September 2016. The essential pillar of this plan is the European Fund for Sustainable Development that is designed to mobilize 44 billion euro, and this amount could be doubled if member states and other donors match this EU contribution. The fund offers a guarantee to encourage the private sector also to invest in ACP and countries, but also other neighboring countries of European Union. Investments will mainly be targeted to improve social and economic infrastructure, and for example, municipal infrastructure, and on providing support to micro, small, and medium enterprises for developed and create jobs in your region. Over the first call for projects, there were 46 proposals from 12 international finance institutions for among 3.6 billion euro. So there is a huge interest, and this is very encouraging for the beginning because the proposals actually they start at the beginning of 2018. On C items, we have informally exchanged our views on topics of highest priority in the context of future of ACP relationship, EU relationship, including middle-income countries, improving the governance of natural resources, and importance of disaster risk management to reduce the vulnerability of ACP countries to natural disasters. I think that this very open and frank discussion under item C was also very useful for European Union. And we also, I think, on first item on this, we find a common ground for another communication and also collaboration on international fora. Because it was very important that from both sides we hear that it's not possible only the GDP per capita to be the only indicator for which country is with middle incomes. And we, I think, are close to agree that we have to start maybe to think about other criteria, but to go work together with OECD. And I think that it's one point of our agenda that I really want especially to point was that together, actually it was yesterday the Council of the Ministers, ACP and EU, supported two initiatives that are utmost importance in the field of education and gender equality, women's empowerment, as well as elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls around the world. This fund that was created will be finance these two initiatives with 425 million euros. I want to thank also to the teams, the protocol, and all the other people from Togo that help us to feel at home and to be calm and in good mood for this very important work. Thank you once again for your attention. Not applause. We are not having questions.
That's what you had asked, so we had agreed.
Yeah.
Donc c'était juste une simple déclaration à la presse. Les coprésidents n'ont pas prévu de prendre des questions. Donc on vous remerciera. Vous aurez les déclarations qui seront rendues disponibles pour votre information. Merci.